If you keep reptiles, you're going to need reptile products. Some of them are really, really good, and other ones you should stop wasting your money on. No matter what your hobby is, you're gonna need stuff for your hobby. And one of the hard parts is figuring out what stuff is good stuff and what stuff is bad stuff. Take video production, for example. The videos that I used to make, like this one here, look really, really bad because I had a bad light and a bad microphone and I didn't know what was good and what was bad. Now I've been in the hobby for a bit, making videos, and I know what is right to buy and what's not. And the same thing with reptiles, except for it's way more important because reptiles might die or get sick if you don't take care of them properly and you don't use the right products. But marketing is really good, so I'm here to tell you what to stop buying and what to buy instead. Number one, cheap coil bulbs. I'll try to find one. I don't have any more in my house. These are garbage. They're just not good. Now, I've heard that there are some new studies out there proving that there's some coil bulbs that are good, but I haven't seen any of these studies. The only studies I've seen are that they don't work. Now, UVB, if you're not aware, you need for animals like bearded dragons, for example, and it helps them synthesize calcium through D3. Anyway, I'm not going to get sciencey about it. It helps them not die a crippling death. UVB is produced by the sun. You can't see it. Reptiles, or some of them, can. Anyway, because the sun produces it and reptiles need it, we provide it artificially in our homes. The problem is most of the UVB lights that you can buy are kind of garbage. And even if they're not coil bulbs, there's certain ones, I don't want to name any names, but I'll definitely show you pictures, that break all the time and they're just garbage. The quality is trash and there are better options. The unfortunate thing, well, I mean, which is kind of you should be expecting because this is how life works, you get what you pay for. If you buy a cheap UVB bulb, there's a reason that it's cheap. It's either going to run out of UVB, which by the way they do. You need to buy new UVB bulbs every 6 months to a year. Anyway, they're going to run out really quick, or they're going to break, or they're barely going to produce UVB anyway, which is why I don't use the coil bulbs. They're kind of garbage. Instead, I like to use brands like Arcadia. There are other brands out there. Arcadia is not sponsoring this video. Chewy is. You can buy them on Chewy. Now, to prove that I'm not a Chewy shill, there's going to be some items on here that I'm telling you not to buy on Chewy, to go somewhere else. Anyway, if you want UVB bulbs right now, you can get them on Chewy at a fantastic price. There's a bunch of other stuff too. There's a link below. It's all the stuff that I actually use. So if you want just a list rather than a video to write things down, it's right there in the link. And if you buy $49 worth of reptile items, including Miss King, which we'll talk about later, and Arcadia lighting, you'll get a $10 gift card to Chewy as well, just as a thank you for spending $49 on reptile stuff at Chewy. All you have to do is use this code ADAM$10 at checkout, and then you get a $10 gift card for Chewy. Anyway, I've been using Arcadia lighting since 2019. So before anybody knew who I was, before I was getting sponsored, Arcadia has never given me $1 out of their own pocket ever. This is just the brand that I prefer because it's sturdy. The bulbs don't break in transit, which is so annoying. The pin connectors, because you have to connect a power cord, they don't break, which I really like too. And you can get them in different strengths. This one is a 7.0. You're going to learn this when you research your animal, what animal that you're going to use. My bearded dragon, there's actually a special 14% UVB that I use for them. There's 12%, and then there's 6%, I believe, 7, 2%. Either way, just when you do the research on your animal, you'll know which one to use. But Arcadia has all of them. There's some other good ones too. I like the Zoom Ed ones and other ones, but anyway. Let's move into number 4, which is cheap misters and foggers. This drives me crazy because there's such a huge drop off. Spoiler alert, if you watch the channel, you already know this. I'm gonna tell you to go buy Miss King, okay? Miss King, by far, without a close second, is the best misting product. Basically, the reason that you'd wanna mist your animals not by hand is because A, it's annoying, and if you go on vacation or you forget or whatever, or you just are lazy, it's easier to have it go on automatically. Miss King has 3 different options. You can have a small one, a medium one, or a really big one. I've got all of them. They all work really great. I have 4 Miss Kings running in this house, and I paid money for all of them. I purchased every one of my Miss Kings. They've never been sent to me, okay? So I'm backing this with my own dollar. The reason they work, well, zoos use them, right? So when you go to a fancy zoo that has this crazy budget, they're using a Miss King system, and they're not priced out like crazy. Cheap misting systems, the nozzles are gonna clog, first of all. The nozzles usually don't spray very well. They spray a very large micron water droplet, so it doesn't act like mist. It acts like rain, kind of, where Mist King actually acts like mist. But the drop off from Mist King to everything else, because Exoterra, for example, makes a decent product. The problem is with these standalone systems, although I've heard Habistat is making one, I haven't tried it yet, but I heard it's really, really good. I'll keep you updated, hit subscribe if you want. And the problem with the Exoterra ones that I've tried, I have several of them still, is first of all, the solo isn't great. It doesn't work very well. I mean, it works great for one misting head. If you use one misting nozzle, it's okay, but I would always recommend if you're gonna get the Exoterra one, because it's standalone, so it's a little bit easier than a Mist King, but barely, get the multi. And at that point, the Mist King is gonna be the same price anyway. Almost all the systems, or all of them that I know of that aren't Mist King, the motors will burn out if you let the reservoir run dry, which, I mean, you shouldn't do anyway, but with Mist King, you're not gonna break the product. It's just gonna be, you have to reprime it, which is really easy. With all the other products, you're gonna smell burning and then they're gonna burn out. I've had this happen to me. It wasn't with Zoomed or Exoterra. I'm not gonna say the company because they don't even exist anymore. Anyway, buy Mist King, don't buy cheap stuff. I promise you, with water in general, it's gonna leak also. You don't want water to leak into your house. I promise you, it is such a disaster. Number 3, this one's self-explanatory, cheap enclosures. You get what you pay for, okay? There are enclosures out there that are cheap and they're almost all garbage. There's enclosures out there that are really expensive or kind of on the more expensive side, and all of them that I've tried are pretty darn good. Now, this is for the US. In Canada, we've got some manufacturers that charge a lot of money and they're not good. But in the US, because there's so much competition, generally, if it's cheap, it's bad. There is one exception. New Age Pet makes these enclosures that are made out of basically what is Trex decking. So it's a really strong PVC-like, it's like PVC and wood made a baby. It's really light, they're easy to put together. There is a link below so you can buy them. They're not sponsoring this episode, but I have one, I've used it. There's a video right here of me explaining why I like them so much. But they're kind of the unicorn where they're really great because even if, let's suppose in a perfect world that they came damaged, they'll replace the product. A lot of companies don't. I mean, I've had issues with this before, but they came fine for me and I live in Canada, right? So your journey's gonna be a lot easier. So it's gonna show up in good condition. It's gonna be easy to put together. They're gonna be waterproof. It's literally made out of decking that's meant to be outside, so you don't have to worry about weather. And it's not gonna warp. That's the other thing. Here's why you don't want cheap ones. Cheap enclosures are going to be either heavy and cumbersome if they're made of glass or wood, and just not gonna last. They're gonna warp. PVC generally is what we're talking about here. I've got several different options. If it's a poor quality material, it'll warp and the doors won't act properly. I have one like that. It's now in the other room. It's really ugly. It just, yeah. I'm getting rid of it. And a lot of the time it will rattle around. That's the other thing I hate about it. It rattles and it's ugly, or it'll create a new seam so that like an animal can literally escape from it. If you use crappy plexiglass doors, you can literally stick your hand into it, which means a snake could get out of it really easily. And if it's bad plexiglass, it's gonna scratch really easy too. I prefer a PVC enclosure that has glass and has a good track that isn't gonna get bunged up with a bunch of muck. And also the doors will come out, and that is New Age Pet. Now there's a bunch of other ones that I really, really love. I did a whole video right here that you can watch about the different options. This was several years ago. So in general, American made, I'm Canadian by the way, so I mean, like, sorry Canada, I know there's a tariff war going on, but American made is almost always better. It's a little bit more generally, but a lot of the cheap stuff that comes from overseas is generally cheap garbage. And even cheap enclosures are a pretty good price, so you want to buy something that's going to last. You're better off paying a little bit more and then not having to replace it next year. Oh, also those New Age enclosures, again, not sponsoring. They're $219 as of filming this video right now. $219 for a 4x2x2. That's insane. That's crazy. Like, go get one. Number 2, crap food. This is a problem. I have no problem with prepared diets. There's a lot of great ones. Powdered diets, pelleted diets, whatever. But there's certain products that you read the ingredients and it's like, why would I put this into my animal? Even supplements is another great example. Starting from the very easy part, everyone needs calcium, or for the most part, for lizards especially. It's calcium carbonate. That's basically all it is. If it has a bunch of other crap in it, that's all it is. It's junk. Get rid of it. Foods, if you can't pronounce everything on there, I mean, it just doesn't work. If it's a fish food company making food for reptiles, it's probably not good. Tetra is a great example of this. It's super popular, sells like crazy. The turtle food is not I wouldn't feed it to my turtle. What I would feed instead is like a Flukers, for example. Again, Flukers, not sponsoring today's episode, but I've actually been to their facility and I see how they make their product and even the product that they feed to your feeders. So for example, live bugs, they make, food for the live bugs. I see how it's made. It's as few ingredients as possible. It smells good. It's clean. You want to buy good stuff like that. Even freeze-dried insects, I know people like to, poo-poo on them and say that they're bad. I mean, is beef jerky bad? Beef jerky has as much protein as a steak. It just doesn't have the water content. Freeze-dried insects are the exact same. The problem isn't the nutrition. It's, a lot of animals don't eat them because they don't move. So buy good food for your animals. It's important. And the price is basically the same. Number one thing that you're wasting your money on is substrate and hardscape. And to prove that I'm not just some chewy shill trying to sell chewy product, I'm going to tell you to buy most of this stuff or go find it in your backyard or buy it from a hardware store or whatever. Now keep in mind, there's some really good stuff. If you want to buy, an all-in-one already mixed, Chewy or whoever you go to, I recommend Chewy because it goes right to your door. It's easy, sells that stuff, and it's super convenient. However, if you want to make your own mix, go get play sand from your local hardware store. Go get coconut core. Chewy sells it for the same price as a hardware store, so buy it there. Sphagnum moss. Mix it all together. A substrate shouldn't cost you very much money to make. If you're buying the latest and greatest, with a branding on it, generally don't. It's kind of useless. Most of what I use is topsoil mixed with some coconut core and play sand and sphagnum moss. So, it's going to cost a tenth of the price as if I were to buy all that stuff from a big name pet store. Hardscape. Things like rocks and sticks and bricks, okay? So you know where this is going. I get almost all my sticks and things like that from my yard or the woods, and then I, either let it freeze, which it is doing outside great right now. I have a freezer in my backyard for 8 months a year. It's fantastic. Go Canada. Or scrub them down or power wash them or whatever you got to do for rocks and bricks and things like that. I get them all basically from my property or close to my property, sanitize them and use them that way. You don't need to buy the brand name stuff. You can save tons of money. Find the stuff, or even if you want, go get an overturned bowl and then put coconut core on that with glue or silicone, and now you have a hide. Rather than buying a hide that costs $50, like a big one, they're always really expensive. Buy a bowl for $4, cut out a little hole for your snake, and then glue some coconut core to it. That's it. It doesn't cost tons of money to take good care of your reptile and buy good products. That is what I recommend. Some things, buy the expensive stuff because it's better and you're going to spend way less money in the long term than buying the same junk over and over and over. Some things, don't buy the expensive thing like substrates and things like that and rock hides. Buy the cheap stuff and then make it look nice because it's going to be the same quality. There you go. That's how you save money. That's how I save money. Let me know in the comments section below any tips or tricks that you have. And as always, thanks so much for hitting the like and subscribe button. Really helps out. And the Patreon. Videos early, discounts on merch. Sometimes we do one-on-ones, all that for as little as $1 a month. Because I do videos twice a week, that means I'll see you in the next one.